Hey folks, welcome back to Make It Good. If you've been following along with my 10 by 20 tiny workshop build, you'll know that this thing is finally complete. And it's time to start moving things back in. And so in this video, we're going to concentrate on just that, how to organize a small workshop. We're going to be moving my equipment back in. We're going to be putting some French cleats up on the wall and using that system to organize all the pieces and parts that I've accumulated and that I need on a day-to-day basis in my workshop. I've started off by bringing in all my large items. My workbench, my saws, my planer, everything that's on a table or a stand or stands alone so that I can have an eyeball on how these things are fitting and how I might organize them and my workflow within this small space. I've been using this 2-foot by 4-foot storage rack to hold most of my woodworking equipment in my garage. However, it takes up a lot of space here in the workshop. So my goal is to find other places for most of this stuff that I'm putting on here so that I can clear up the floor space that this rack takes up. The ability to move items around is crucial in a small workshop like this. So having these casters on my workbench and other items is very helpful in moving things around, especially when I'm trying to organize and figure out the spacing of things. This initial layout just wasn't working for me, so I figured I'd try some different ways of laying out these tools. My ultimate goal is to have each big piece of equipment on wheels so that I can easily move them around the shop. Especially this saw and this planer that are on these tables that I have to pick up to move. It becomes a real pain. So those are going to be some future builds that I'll be putting on the channel, so stay tuned for those. This is the layout I landed on, and it's worked out pretty well so far, so this is where I'm going to start for getting things organized. If you're unfamiliar with French cleats, basically it's a hanging system in which boards are cut juxtaposed to each other at a 45-degree angle, so they fit tightly together once they're attached to an item that needs to hang on that wall. I'm using 1/2-inch plywood since I have a lot of it left over from the paneling of the walls on the workshop. As you can see, moving a 4x8 sheet in this configuration is a little tight in this workshop, and I'm hoping organizing it will make that a little easier. I'm cutting these down into 5-inch strips with my track saw, which I'm really liking. Really helps with the dust collection on cutting all these boards. I then move over to the table saw at a 45-degree cut, figured out where the half point was, where I get 2 equal strips, and cutting this 5-inch strips in half so that I can have French cleats from both sides. Two 4x8 sheets of plywood made a lot of French cleats. Now we cut them down to size and start hanging them up. I'm going to start with the wall behind the workbench. Now the thing that is key here is making sure this first board is nice and level and exactly where I want it. I've already made some initial marks, so I kind of know where to put it, but I need to make sure this is perfectly level so that all the other boards after this are in the right spot. I fashioned this little jig to get my exact proportions of where the board above the board below is supposed to be. In this case, I want them 6 inches apart, and this jig will hold that board exactly 6 inches from the bottom of the board below it. This allows plenty of space between the boards for the French cleat attachments to maneuver and hang. Once this is up, we got to double check the level and then put plenty of screws in. These are all going directly into the stud, so they're nice and strong. The first board is definitely the hardest. After that, using the jig, everything comes out nice and level. Just double check it, put lots of screws in, and keep on working until it's done. And we just rinse and repeat and do it all again on the other side. You'll see that I'm not holding back on putting up French cleats. They're going to go everywhere. On these wider walls, our 8-foot lengths don't go quite all the way across. It's alright, we just put an extra board on there and call it good. Once we have things hanging on the French cleats, you're probably not going to see these seams anyway. Wanted to visually connect the trim I have on the long side walls, so I'm putting one more French cleat up here between the two of them. I may or may not use this as a French cleat, but it's there in case I want that functionality. Right about now you may be asking, Jason, why do you need this many French cleats? Simple answer is, I may not, but I have them in case I do. I want to have the flexibility of being able to put items I need on a day-to-day basis, or even for just storage, anywhere in the shop. So I'm going to put as many French cleats as this wall will hold so that I do have that flexibility and I can really make this shop my own and hang things exactly where I need them. And here we go. Lots of French cleats all the way around the shop. Lots of flexibility to hang things exactly where I need them. And I have plenty of opportunity to use these French cleats. All this stuff needs to have a home where it's nice and organized, where it's grab and go, easy to use, and frees up all my floor space and storage space that I can use my big tools and work in this small shop. And what's more important than having music in your shop? So my Bluetooth stereo here and the speakers that go along with it are going to be my first projects for the French cleat wall. Just making some quick measurements and cutting out some of my plywood to mount this on. I take pride in this kind of work. Even though these are quick little projects just to hang a little stereo system on, I want to make sure everything's nice and square, nice and strong, and built for the long haul. So I'm making sure I carefully measure, carefully cut, and have everything ready to put together so that this thing will last and do exactly what I need it to do. I like to pre-drill all my screw holes, and I will be gluing up the joints on this so everything's nice and strong. Countersinking the heads of the screws will ensure that everything sits nice and flat against the wall. I want to make sure that happens with these French cleat walls, otherwise they get a little wonky. So the first little shelf for the receiver is done, the glue is dry, and it's ready to hang on the wall. I wanted to get the stereo up and running on the wall. One, because I like having music in the shop, but two, I need to have this workbench cleared off. This receiver and the speakers took up quite a bit of room. And ultimately, the more room I have on the workbench, the more I can build and get things up and organized. Now I'm ready to rock. Next, I focused on getting my hand planes up on the wall. These I'll end up using quite a bit, so I wanted them close at hand, and they were easy jigs to make. Neither of these are very large, so they didn't need much support on them. I think they turned out pretty good. I'm using scrap wood left over from the shop build for pretty much every tool hanger on this wall, and allows me to be creative on both how I'm using the wood and how things are going to hang on the French cleats. In this case, I glued a couple of 2x4s together for my square clamps. All I have to do is cut them to size, put some glue on them, screw them down, and I've got a nice strong holder that'll probably last longer than the clamps will, to be honest. Picked up one of the cutoffs from that last clamp hanger. It's perfect for another clamp hanger. So again, more glue, more screws, one more cleat, and one more clamp up on the wall. I'll show you one more build just to kind of give you more ideas of how to organize your stuff. With my razor saw, I just marked where I want it to hang, and then took it over to the band saw to cut out the notch. After I built another cleat, marked it up, got some glue on it, and screwed it into place. And there's yet another tool that's close at hand, easy to get to. I still have a long way to go to get this shop exactly how I want it. It's an ongoing process, but I've had a lot of fun getting to this point. These tool holders have been a lot of fun to build for the French cleat wall, and I hope this gives you some ideas of how you might organize your shop. This thing is ever changing. You can move these things around, which is part of the beauty of having a French cleat wall. And so as you evolve your shop, you can make it very much your own. So I appreciate you following along. If you like what you saw, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos, subscribe to the channel. If you do subscribe, hit that notification button so you know when I post new videos. I appreciate each and every one of you following along. Y'all get out there and make it good. Thanks a lot.